in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Welcome to the Author Your Brand Show, guys. I'm so excited to bring on not just one guest, but my chief editor as well, because we're going to be talking about an upcoming book that is probably one of the most fascinating stories I've ever had the honor of being involved with. So I'm going to bring on first my chief editor, Jen Malone. Jen, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good. Okay. So I'm going to introduce Mohan. If you want to add anything to if you want to add anything to his credentials, you go ahead and chime in here. Our guest today is a gentleman who has 15 patents. And one of those patents is a little thing you might have heard of. It's called GPS. And he is he's worked for every government agency I can imagine, you know, NASA, JPL, DOD, a bunch of other ones that I can't mention. He's a rocket scientist, guys. Okay, he's the smartest man in the world. He invented GPS. And we're here to talk today about something he was involved with. It's a little $5 billion company that also started up back in the late 90s called Stamps.com. And so we're going to take a very deep dive into the history and challenges and successes he had with this amazing startup. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you Mohan Ananda. How are you doing today, Mohan?
Thanks, Doug. That was a little bit, I appreciate your kind words, but I think I'm humbled by those statements. I'll tell you how I did raise $6 million, and it's a very interesting set of events, and it did happen. But before that, so we came back from this number of meetings, and I said, I think before we can really go back to these people, we should now go and talk to the USPS just to see whether they will entertain this concept, because we haven't talked to them because they don't know we exist. So, but we have obviously a kind of a technology platform which we want to show it to them and see what they think about it, and then we will have a little bit more confidence. So to get an appointment to USPS headquarters in Washington, D.C. itself is very difficult because they don't know, we exist. But, I made the right kind of contact, and I talked to them, and they finally agreed.
Okay, hold on a second. Again, we don't want to gloss over these details.
Yes.
You're calling up the largest bureaucracy in the world, one of the top 20 for sure. And I'm going to just call them up, email who you're calling, how does it work, when did they respond? I mean, I want details here because people tend to, I know what happened here, but I want you to tell us what happened. People tend to like give up after 1 or 2 emails or a phone call. So I want to hear how you did it.
Exactly. Generally, any of these people would not have any kind of a response to somebody calling or doing anything. But the way I did it, I mean, you have to be creative. You have to kind of give something to get it. So what I did was, of course, you have to do the research. You have to find exactly who is. USPS has at the time over 1 million employees, so it's not a small. Mm-hmm. Of course, management is still small, meaning, maybe 100 of them or 200 of them or something like that. But I went through their bureaucracy, and I was going after the technology guy, the guy who is responsible for technology. I mean, even though they don't do a lot, but they still have a technology kind of person in charge. So I tried to reach out to him with the saying, look, we have come up with a method by which you can secure and distribute selling of stamps without having to have stamps, meaning you don't need to, the cost of stamps, if you're selling it for 20 cents or 30 cents, 50% is the producing, securing, keeping. So it's not your net is small. So we kind of told them, look, if you don't need to do any of those things, and we have a secured system, which means if you sell the stamp for 20 or 30 cents, you get the whole 30 cents to you.
Okay, hold on a second. So imagine putting your mindset back in the late 90s. I'll just use it as a general term here, where internet's brand spanking new, stamps, generally speaking. And I get this letter or an email. Was it email or letter?
It's both email and letter, but it is an email.
Okay.
Email
okay. So you get this letter. Wouldn't it sound like you're talking about magic? It's like it's just a crazy idea.
That is true. However, I did give my background. I mean, my credentials.
Goes back to that.
I have done. I mean, they can check it out. That GPS being and I have the secure, and I have all the patents. It's already issued. By the time I have 2 or 3, so it's there. So they're not looking in vacuum. It's not like a magic somebody.
Okay.
This is credible. I mean, real. Somebody but of course they still don't give a damn, because what is it? Somebody says, I don't know, but they did look at it. They took quite a bit of back and forth. It's not just overnight or anything. It took some time, but then finally I told them, look, let me come and give you a pitch and see whether you guys like it. If you don't like it, fine. I mean, it's okay, but it's worth hearing me out. So
I understood you emailed the Postmaster General, right? I mean, you talked to the tech guys.
Always copy them. Postmaster General. Yes, we anything we send it to you. That is just it's like when you are sending it to a company, like anything you want, you send a copy to the CEO just to make sure he has the access to. But I don't think Postmaster General looked at it. But
you don't think he looked at it? Okay, fair enough.
I never talked to him. I mean, he finally that Postmaster General became my board member. So he did join after he left. So nice. But we became very close friends. But I didn't go into how But there are some stories what he heard about and all. But that did happen. But interestingly, this technology person. So he was like kind of because of his, I think, generosity. He said, okay, let us connect, let us meet. So he sent me a note saying that, okay, you guys can come, but it has to be on a Friday at 3:00. So what happens generally, USPS employees, they all leave by Friday around 3 or 4. They could go home, but they gave us the meeting time 3 to 4. So I knew this is but at least we are there. So what we did was, of course, we prepared all the deck very nicely, and we took a red-eye flight. The red-eye flight went to Washington, D.C. Of course, we got in the morning, I took a shower and all, and we went to the US. We were 5 of us, even though, I told my team, the rest 4 of them, don't say anything. Let me do all the talking. But if I need some help and if I say, they bring it, because I didn't want the confusion. I want to make sure this is done very professionally, in a very and methodically. So that was just so that you need to have the communication is very important, because they have to know what you're doing, what you can contribute, how this can work out. So there is a protocol. So I kind of we were very well prepared. Our team was so good. They did a excellent job. And so I knew that this is we have a 1 hour, and I expected maybe 2 or 3 people will show up and they will hear and then say that, okay, we'll look at it and we'll get back to you or something like that. That was my original kind of feeling based on the interface. So we went there, and it was in a nice conference room. This was my first visit to this USPS headquarters. Since then, I've been there many times and met with all the top guys. But anyway, this was the first time. But they treated us very professionally. And interestingly, there were almost 10 or 12 people from various departments. technology, marketing, legal, all kind of people came, and that gave me some confidence because more people come to the meeting, meaning they have some interest. Because otherwise, why should they come? So that gives them, kind of a little bit more confidence. And I started the pitch. I went through methodically the whole thing, and the meeting went on. Meeting totally lasted over 4 hours. So we started at 3.
Offering like cookies or snacks? How come? Oh, the government employees, maybe they just want to get out of the office. I don't know.
There is some cookies and coffee and all there, but I wasn't ready to take any of them because I was kind of talking. But they were asking questions, very, very detailed questions about the platform.
Nice.
Then, I want to make it short and say 2 things came out of it. As the hours went, my confidence level became better.
Yeah.
Because this is real. They wouldn't spend time. Everybody was there. Not even a single guy left. Otherwise, most of the people would have left at 3:30.
Sure, right.
We have no way of. So they are really concerned. But that is a very good question. The reason is that shows they're thinking of implementing it. Because why should they even consider thinking about it? Then they said, I said it is. And I told them, why don't you do a review? You have to go through. Then they said, okay, this is a good thing. We have a professor at the Ohio State, and he's very knowledgeable in cryptography and all the associated things. So we're going to hire him just to look at your system. And if he says this is fine, and if he says there is no question, if he says no, you're out. But if he says there is room, then we'll consider to taking forward. I immediately kind of felt amazing because they're ready to pay somebody.
Right.
Invest money.
They're starting now. This is important part of the story because at this point, you guys are doing all the investing, pitching them. As soon as they put their own money into, it means there's sincere interest, even if it's government money, which they just toss around. There's sincere interest there. Was there any doubt or fear or worry on your part that the guy would say no?
It could, because he can just, yes, there was a concern. But I generally think, especially somebody coming from a university, because I have relations with all the, a lot of professors, and they are genuinely interested in the science, the technology, they are also concerned it's a repercussion because they want to make sure it is real. So it's an independent, objective review. So I was not concerned, but maybe there are things which we don't know would be there. He may come up. I always think even if he comes up with some issues, see whether we can solve it. We can correct it. So
okay, hold on. You're a modest man, so this is a hard question for you, but think about this. You and your team invented GPS. You're a rocket scientist. You got 15 patents. Is there anything this Ohio professor could possibly really say to poke a hole, or are you just being polite now?
I think, I believe any technology, there is always a room for something going wrong. I was not that 100% confident, but I was pretty confident. I felt this would work. I knew this is because we already had internal testing. We have done a lot of simulation. We have, we know there is this is real. This is printing money. This is not something, like, if something goes wrong, you can know. They're worried that somebody prints millions or billions of dollars worth of stamps and start using, and without government getting any of it. That's that's intolerable. It'll be so I knew that this is going to be a rigorous. Then he also said, the team, this is not enough, but that is like a necessary condition, but not sufficient. This is has to be completed. Then we have to kind of put it in the Federal Register. This is the government bureaucracy comes into play.
Yeah,
Once
you explain what that is so people don't know.
okay, if there is anything USPS does or any government agency in general, they have to go through this publishing information in the Federal Register,
Right.
and they will request anybody can make comments or anything, compete, or so. This is a bureaucratic process, which is so we have to do that. And that will take a long time because they have to do all these things and it's published. Then there is a statutory period of review. All those things need to be done. Then only we can tell you whether
Okay.
to go
When you
forward.
say long time, how long does it take to go to the public, Federal Register and put it out to bid? How long does that take?
It takes a minimum 3 months. It could
Okay.
be, not probably more than 6 months. But we are still talking about, especially when you are writing the check, it's any day.
Yeah, every day it costs money. Yes,
Costs
I
money.
understand.
So, I mean, for example, we went 5 hours, went and to the Washington D.C., stayed in a hotel and all the transportation. I'm putting all the bill. I mean, these are all expenses are every day. It is happening. I mean, of course, this is all trivial compared to what we have accomplished. But I'm just saying that's the delay is cost us. I mean, there is no way without their approval, we can't even talk to anybody for any use. I mean, we can't generate any revenue. In addition to that, if they don't give us approval, we may not be even able to raise capital. That is the concern I have. But of course, that means it gets further delayed. However, so anyway, after this meeting, so we had a very, very successful, in my opinion, more than success meeting, because we are getting two things happening. One, the review done by a professor. Two, they have agreed to pull together to start the Federal Register process. So in that sense, my feeling was that we have accomplished much more than I originally thought. I mean, in fact, we were much ahead of from my prediction or my thinking, knowing the bureaucracy. So when I came back, I said, now I may want to go and visit this venture world again. But instead of going to Sand Hill Road or Silicon Valley, I said, I now want to go to somebody I have had prior relationship. Even though I didn't, I could have gone to this person even before, but I thought, we'll go to the big guys first and see what they say. But I learned quite a bit by that process because I know what the questions they would ask, how I would respond, and I know their thought process. So even though it was kind of, people may think, oh, it's a failure. We went to 30 venture people, but I learned a lot. It is a great experience. So
okay, so let's talk about that for a second for entrepreneurs or people thinking about this. So normally the path is a little bit of seed money, angel investors, friends and family, VCs, maybe go public. You went to some VCs first, and you went to said 30 or so.
Yes.
To get, but you already had experience. What kind of, were you looking for new experience here, or just to float the idea to get their feedback?
It's because this is a very tough. It's a one person. It's a black and white. Right. Either they say yes or they say no. But if they say yes, I know it is a great success. But if they say no, it's a gone. So it's a binary. That's why I want to know how they respond.
Right. All right. So you came back, and you not going to big firms now. You had a meeting with the USPS, and you were encouraged because they're putting money in, Federal Register, good stuff. You go back to, who'd you going back to, and what did you say to them?
Okay, I went back to a friend of mine. That's now it is a friend.
Got it.
It's a friend, but I haven't had a lot of relationship with him. But his name, of course, is Brad Jones. Brad Jones was with the then called Brentwood Ventures. Now he's with Red Point. Red Point is a very large venture firm. But Brentwood was large, but a local Los Angeles venture. And I had prior relation with Brad because I started a company a few years before, I think 1988. It's some years before, called microsubstrates. And just to give a short history of it, it's in the chip generation technology. It's an interesting how I started and all. There's a lot of things, and it's in the book. But anyway, so during that process, I wanted to raise some money for that business. Then a friend of mine introduced me to Brad, and I went to Brad, and he was very generous. In fact, he liked our project. He said, that looks very interesting. I think we can fund it. So I was looking for 3 million at the time. And so he said, yeah, that sounds good. We may be interested. We can, of course, we have to go through the due diligence here. There is a protocol. All the things need to be done. So then I said, that's fine. But then I told him before I left, Brad, I think it's good. You can do all the due diligence and you can make a decision. But I am currently, I have a cash crunch. Is there a way you can kind of give me like a loan or something just to meet the current expenses? Then he asked, how much are you looking for? I said, about $100,000. He said, he just thought about a few minutes and he said, okay, I'll write you a check with no document. No, nothing. I mean, no signature from our side. Nothing, no acknowledgement. He brought the checkbook. He asked his office, brought the checkbook, wrote the $100,000 check to me, and gave it to me. I mean, I was shocked. I was so surprised. The relationship, the character, the sincerity of this gentleman. So obviously, I became very close in the sense that was a unique experience for me. So obviously, I came, took the money and spent, obviously, no problem. So we were doing.
How long did the $100,000 last?
No, I mean, this was an immediate. It's not $100,000 last. We have already spent the money. We were just
okay, yeah. Because I know in startups it's all out. There's nothing coming in now, so it's like you get a burn rate of what?
This is not for stamps. This is the prior company. I just want to give the.
Oh, sorry. Right. Okay. Right. Yeah.
This is not. This is for microsubstrates. It's a different company. The stamps hasn't happened. It's a few years back.
I understand.
But then he was ready to make the investment.
Yeah.
During that investment decision making, we got an offer from another company in Arizona to take our company with the investment and move it to Temple. So it was because I didn't have any money. This is all happening. So I said, it's interesting, but I didn't want to do because I have a commitment from Brad. So this is coming. So I called Brad and explained it to him. This is happening, Brad. I don't know whether is it okay if I do this because I already took his 100,000. Then he said, don't worry, Mohan, this looks good. You can do it. And of course, I gave the 100,000 back and, some more. But that became a kind of a everlasting relationship. Nice. I mean, it's an incident. So that is the background. That's it. Years. I went to him. Then I explained the whole thing to him, just one-on-one. And nobody. So I gave the technology, I gave everything, and I went to all these venture firms in Silicon Valley. And I said, we met with, I gave the whole history to him. Then he asked me, what do you want? I said, I want $6 million. I need some, he looked at it and said, same problem, Mohan. If these guys say no, I'm stuck. What do you think? I said, I think we are in a better shape, Brad, because it looks good. Okay. He just knowing me, he said, okay, this is what I will do. I can commit 2 million. If you can get other 4 million, we are done. We can Yeah, that
Oh,
happened.
you don't want to be first in. I'll be second in. You get someone else. If somebody else risks some money, then I'll risk mine, right?
But he said, I'll be the first. I mean, he said, okay. I said, can you give me a term sheet? He said, he put the term in typical term sheet, and he gave me. And I was almost ready to walk. Then I turned around and said, that's great, Brad, but can you do me a favor? Can you recommend one or two guys whom I can talk to?
This
He
is
said,
called the Columbo move. Remember the TV show Columbo? He does the investigation, talking, and he's walking out the door. Oh, by the way, one last thing. You have any of your friends, right?
this is exactly, they're almost something similar, but
Nice.
there's not like a planned one. It is just a casual conversation. He said, it's okay. He gave me two other names. In fact, I could have asked more, but yeah, I said two is good enough. So he gave me the two names, and then I told him, I kind of asked rather than told, it's okay with you if I tell them that you gave the names? So because he said, sure, yeah, no problem. So I came home. In fact, as soon as I came home, the same day, so I know that I have 2 million potentially in the bank, potentially. But then I called this first guy, is Brown, and I talked to him, and I just said, Brad is known in the community very, very well. So Brad has already, commit the commitment, and I want to see whether you would. In fact, he suggested your name, and he said, before I talk to somebody else, I thought I should call you. That's a reasonable.
Oh, listen to that beautiful sales pitch, folks. This is those 3 sentences right there is all you need to know, right? Get a verbal commitment from this guy. You get some names, right? And by the way, I called you first because I want to. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Mohan. Fear. You got all the psychological triggers here. Fear of missing out. You're first, but I also got a bunch. This is good. This is really good.
He immediately said, "Do you have a term sheet?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I have a term sheet. Can you fax it to me?"
Yep.
So I got the number and faxed it to him. And then I told him, when you get it, if you review, if you're interested, let me know, because I have to make some other calls, but I won't make any other calls until you get back to me. He said, no problem. So within about half an hour, he called me back and said, Mohan, I am in. This is all he said. I am in. Don't worry. So now I have 2 + 2, 4 million. Then I called the second guy. His name is Tom Clancy. He's in San Diego. So
not the writer, somebody else.
Yeah, same name, exactly, but
Right.
not right. So I called him, and now I'm well experienced. So I said the same thing, same story to him, and he said same. He asked me, "Do you have a term sheet?" Yeah, I said, "Sure." And I said, "I already have 4 million. I'm just looking for 2 million, and there are many others who would be interested." But I said, so I got within another half an hour. He said, "I'm in." So I got the 6 million that day.
So we need to break this down for people watching this, Mohan, because it didn't happen in a day. It happened over years of relationship building, right?
It's important, right?
And nobody wants to be first in because, like, well, you're like taking the biggest risk. If trusted, experienced investors have already invested, we've got that security. Oh, well, if he's in, then I'm in. And this is a bad example, but this is like the Bernie Madoff effect, right? If this celebrity, this person's investing with them, it'll be okay. Nobody does the due diligence. But you've got relationships, so I'll probably find a better example. But having that first person, a verbal commitment, it wasn't even a monetary, it was a verbal commitment that if you get the other million, other 4, he would do the 2. It was like a circular reference here. Very, very, very beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, it was more like I think. I mean, I consider myself lucky to know somebody like Brad. I mean, that is the real reason. Is I give. In fact, I tell everybody, even as recent as last board meeting, I was kind of praising the real reason the company has been successful, in my opinion, is because of Brad's participation. Because if he didn't write that initial commitment, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, I mean, of course, you never know. You can't predict what what could have. But I think that really made it happen. So I give my whole the success my relationship with Brad. I mean, I always thank him for his generosity and, I mean, his personality, his character. That's a very, very, I mean, he trusted me, and I obviously trust him, but we together, we could do. And he sits on my board even today. I mean,
Oh, nice. Of course. Yeah.
very, 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 I mean, that's a great experience.
Mhm.
And I would advise my other, whoever starts companies, to have the luck or the ability to bring somebody like on board.
Yes.
Very
Right.
important to have. I mean, not just money, the wisdom, the experience, the
Yeah.
everything that
Mhm.
that's more valuable than the guy write the code. I mean, it's just it's so
Sure.
important to have the right team.
Right.
Again, coming back to the team, the board
Yeah.
is part of the team. I mean, it's very,
Yeah.
very important. But anyway, so but
Okay.
this discussion is going on, even though they all made the commitment.
Mhm. Mhm.
You have to go through a full detailed due diligence, because they hired uh, um, uh, a big law firm.
Mhm.
I can't remember the firm. I mean, anyway, I'll get to that. It's to do the
Yeah.
paperwork. I mean, all the because this is a
It's millions
typical
of dollars. Yeah.
$6 million, and so we need to hire a law firm too,
Mhm.
because somebody we need, and we didn't have a lot of money, right? I mean, I have this initial money, but that is still being spent.
And even though you're an attorney, you were smart enough not to
But
represent yourself.
yeah, I
Right?
know. We need to have somebody objective outside, because this is a real thing. What I did was, this is very important. I did some real research. I mean, there are some still available. I don't know whether it is currently they do. The firm I hired is
Mhm.
called Venture Law Firm. Venture Law Firm was in the Silicon Valley.
Mhm.
Very few law firms uh, represent you without getting money upfront. They need a large retainer,
Yeah.
and,
Right.
and then an hourly fee. But I met this venture law firm person. Uh, they had this philosophy, helping startups with no cash upfront, just warrants. Warrants are very similar to stock options, but they can, of course, the success is warrants at a very low, warrant value, but when they exercise it, they will get it. So I was happy because I didn't need to put the money upfront, but because of our success, they benefited significantly, much more than they would have got if they got paid.
How
Really,
often do they do that?
I think there are firms still available, but
Mhm.
you have to negotiate.
Yeah.
You have to some or other. Some firms do half cash,
Yeah.
half
Okay.
warrants. I mean, there are, but you have to be a. You have to be a. Uh, I mean, you have to do your homework. This
Sure.
is something, everywhere you should optimize your out of pocket expense. But
Yeah.
some people think, I mean, yeah, if I keep all the stocks, I'll make more money. I did not go into this business to make a lot of money. I just want to do it and successful. And even if
Sure.
you make small, it's okay. But the
Right.
most important thing is to make it successful. And
Yep.
you have to kind of go through the navigate very, very carefully, and
Yeah.
so
Well,
that's
there's an old saying, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. So yeah, you've got to be generous. And, I know stamps.com is what evaluation today is $5 billion, right?
correct around, yes.
So, how
Yeah,
much money do you
I
need?
consider that as it's a successful enterprise, and
Yeah.
more than that, it has a tremendous future. I think.
Yes. Okay.
It's
So let's move along here. I don't want to take up the whole day on this thing. So we raised the $6 million in a day.
yes.
Amazing. Give me what happened next step before you guys actually launched it.
Okay. Now, this just want to add one thing to it. The firm they hired, meaning the venture companies hired is Ireland Manila. That's and so one of the things they were doing, in addition to do our just contractual terms review and all. They wanted to do a deep dive into our patent, because how valuable is patent? Is it real? So they were doing so. I had to meet with their lawyers just to explain the technology, what it is, how it is, and go through the whole, real. The reason I'm discussing this, the person who was reviewing it, a young, very successful lawyer, Narel Manala, it's a big firm, very prestigious firm. His name is Seth Weisberg. Seth, he was the one who was doing. But the real reason I'm bringing up, after doing all this, and he done, thing, and he wrote a report saying how it is, or how valuable it is, and all the right. Then after the last meeting, when I was there and before I left, I asked Seth, I don't misunderstand me. If you are, really interested, why don't you come and join our company as our legal counsel? And I know we can't give you a lot, like lawyers do make more money in the law firms, but again, he'll give you options which will make you much, much better than if it is successful, better than any time you're working in the law firms. So he said, let me talk to his wife and he'll get back to me. So the next day he called me and said, Mohan, I think I'm going to take that offer. I'm going to join you guys, leave Iran, come back and work I know that I'll get a pay cut, but I will have the stock options and all. The reason I'm bringing up, Seth, about 5 years back, retired 100% with significant, assets, because of he made that decision that day, and he's enjoying his life. He traveled around the whole world. Seth, of course, would hear this. He would, be happy to that I'm saying. So I was so proud that did happen. I just want to tell you the reason I'm bringing up these things could happen to people starting the company. That's something very informative to startup people, because you are making life better for your team members. So Seth was, I believe, the first legal counsel for us until he left. Until he retired a few years back. He still has a relationship with us. We bring him periodically, and because he has the wide knowledge since he joined us, I think in 98 or so, or 97, I don't remember, but that, many years he has been with us. So I just want to give you that kind of, anytime you get an opportunity and you feel like it is the right person, you should go and get the person on your side. And we hired, in fact, most of the people we hired with this type of relationship. And because of that, our management team has been extremely stable. People left because of they want to retire, not because they went to work for somebody else. So that's something the startup founders should really should consider. That would help. But anyway, I just want to give that as a side thing. Then, obviously, we have to get the relationship with you. Still, we don't have the approval, but now we have a large team. We have a good working product and ready to start. But we can't go to a customer or a users without the USPS giving the approval.
So what kind of timeline are we talking here, from the $30 million raise to have $500 million in the bank? Would that happen in 2 years, 10 years? What kind of timeline